Hi guys, today I am going to be doing CHING number 169. So I do have actually a lot kind of to talk about at the end of the video, eBay related. So we're just going to get started into this CHING. First thing that I have was actually a Halloween card of all things. This one had that vintage look, but it was a reproduction. But it was brand new with the envelope. That sold for $9.99. Also sold a pottery mug. This one said on the front, the Cracked Pot Coffee Shop. That sold for $18.99. Next item was actually a Christmas ornament by a company called Whitehurst. It was a blown glass Christmas ornament, fairly big, and it was I think a koala and a don't quote me on that, a koala and a panda bear, I believe, on like a stalk of bamboo. That sold for $64.99. That did take a while to sell, but from my experience reselling Christmas ornaments, I feel like the Whitehurst brand tends to do pretty good. Then we also sold, this was actually brand new, still sealed. It was from 1998 Candyland game, but it was in a tin, so kind of like a collector's type edition. That sold for $49.99. Obviously sold for more because it was still sealed, so probably wouldn't sell for quite that much being open. Then we also sold a Hager ashtray. This one was a really pretty purple color. That sold $39.99. This next item was a plastic mushroom that you could hang on the wall. It was by a company called Hoda. That sold $49.99. Mushrooms are still hot. This next item was a piece of Vaseline glass, so it did glow under black light. That is still pretty hot as well. This one was a Westmoreland swan on a nest. That sold $139.99. I have a story about this one I will talk about at the end of the video. It's a good story at the end, I should say. Next item was, this was a small, like a miniature Estee Lauder perfume in the scent Sensuous. This is actually a really good fragrance if you can buy it like a full-size bottle. If you can find a full-size bottle, it will sell obviously a lot better. But this one was just a mini and it sold for $18.99. I sold a Littlest Pet Shop. This was a mommy rabbit, a bunny rabbit with her baby. That sold $35. And then this next item is also a Littlest Pet Shop. This one was called the Messiest Pets Cat, and she sold for $27. Then I have this was brand new, Buxton. It was a memo pad, so it was in like a leather case with a notepad and like an attached pen inside. That sold $16.19. You'll see a couple of these next items within this CHING. You have seen some already in other CHINGs. These are the Ziploc bowls. This one here was the size extra small, so that sold $19.99. Then I sold just a little Bratz skirt, little replacement clothing piece. That sold for $12.99. I also sold two He-Man related items. The first one was a vintage He-Man zipper pull that sold $19.99, as well as a set of He-Man buttons. There were 12 of these. That sold $12.99 for the set of 12. Then here are more of the Ziploc containers. So these were the twist and lock containers. The first one was a set of medium round ones that sold for $24.99. Then we sold a set of small round ones for $21.99. And then this next one was for a lot of two medium round ones that sold $49.99. The next item was kind of Christmas related. It was a Lefton, a 3-tiered like serving tidbit tray that sold $44.99. Then there were some Eastery things. This next item was a set of 2 vintage plastic by Knickerbocker bunny rabbit. So it was like a man and lady bunny rabbit. They sold together for $49.99. Also sold a vintage Valentine's Day card. This one was Disney and it was mechanical. It was from 1939. That sold $9.99. This next item was a piece of jewelry. It was actually a watch. This was by a company called Gruen, Gruen. It was a cameo watch. These were pink cameo watch with matching pink cameo earrings. That set sold for $91. So that one was a good one. Let's see, I sold a Mego, this was by Mego, Wonder Woman figure. Unfortunately, she only had one boot, poor girl. But she did sell $44.99. There were, at one day, there were some brand new, still in their packaging, vintage Megos. Oh my gosh, some of those are worth crazy money. You saw that, if you watched all my Chings, you saw that I had sold some like loose Mego figures for really good money. Oh, the ones that are still like in their original packaging go for like infinitely more money. It's just insane. Unfortunately, I did not win any of those. Let's see, we sold this was a vintage Easter kind of like craft kit. That was done, obviously. It was like a satin egg with a little plastic bunny kind of pulling it like a little rabbit cart. That sold $24.99. Sold a beauty item by Serious Skincare. It was called Vitamin C Ester. That sold $19.99. Sold a vintage from 1986 Barbie Jewel Secrets little jewelry set for $19.99. Also sold a vintage from 1988 My Little Pony. She was named Cha Cha and sold $19.99. Then we also have another Easter related item. This was actually a German paper mache Easter egg candy container. It had a really dapper bunny rabbit on the front. That sold $39.99. Sold, this was from 1984. I think it was by Galoob. Orange Alien. I don't know what Black Star is. That's what I saw when like I researched it. Like I don't know if that was a cartoon or just like the name of the figures that came out or whatever, but anyway, it was in like a bag of vintage figures that I had. It sold $13.99. Then we also sold a Department 56 Village piece. This one was called the Hollyberry Cottage, and that sold $24.99. Sold another vintage My Little Pony from 1986. This was a So Soft pony, and those ones had kind of like a flocked texture to them. Her name was Fifi, and she sold $15.99. Then I sold a body spray. This was by Ulta, and the scent was called Water Blossom. That sold $10.39. So this was from the 1950s. It was a white like wicker basket style purse by a company called Majid. That sold $16. I also sold a ring. This was a copper ring by Belle Trading Post. That sold $19.99. As well as a glass blue bird. This was a blown glass bird by Pilgrim Glass. Sold $19.99. This next item, I think a lot of you will remember. This one was a vintage Tomy fashion plate. I used to love these when I was younger. This set here was from 1978, and that sold $99.99. Let's see. We sold a Breyer horse for $35.99. Sold a granite ware enamel blue sauce pot with the lid for $29.99. This next item was also a vintage toy from 1984. These were called Select Converters. So very much like Transformers, but not Transformers brand. So it was a robot toy that sold $19.99. This next item was actually a Longaberger basket, and surprisingly there are still Longaberger baskets out there that are worth a lot of money. This one here was called the Founders Market Basket, and it sold for $115.99. Sold a pair of vintage children's Oshkosh conductor style bib overalls. Those sold $19.99. I sold a Carter's giraffe plush that had a rattle in it. This was actually from 1999. And the fun thing about this is that it was actually based off of a design that John Lennon from the Beatles drew. Like Carter's, I guess, came out with some things back then that were based off of his drawings. So this one here sold for, hold on, I gotta find it now, $29.99. You'll actually see this same one in another cha-ching because I had multiples, and then you'll see a different styled one as well in my next cha-ching. I sold a pair of Patricia Nash earrings. These were brand new on the card. They were actually like the little round piece in the center was leather. Those sold $19.99. Sold a set of 12 home interiors votive candles in the scent Evergreen. They sold $25.99. Sold a Caboodles little like small clear, I had stars all over it, like holographic stars, little train case, makeup case. That sold $19.99. Sold a vintage gem doll outfit from 1987 that sold $45.99. This next item was like a little porcelain duck, but it was marked Germany. That sold $19.99. Next item was a vintage Christmas item. This was called Saint Nick's Express, and it was a lighted Santa with his sleigh, but it also came with its original packaging, so that was a really cool piece. That sold $99.99. We sold a vintage Sanrio metal like tin case. This was from 1985. It said Boo Boo Boy on the front. That sold $12.99. And the last thing that I have for this cha-ching was a vintage Polly Pocket set. This was from 1993 called the Little Pet Set. That sold $27.99. So that's pretty much everything for this cha-ching. According to eBay, my sales are down 25.5%. I believe it this time. I do believe it this time. I do feel like eBay sales, well, I should say across like all platforms, I feel like sales are down, at least for me. Obviously, you know, things are happening in the world, and I do feel like we're getting hit a little bit as far as sales go. I don't know, maybe some of you aren't really feeling it, but I definitely feel like we are to an extent. I just feel like sales are down, kind of slow. Now, it typically is kind of slow around this time, like anyway, but I do feel like it's just, it's been a little tough lately as far as sales go. So we're definitely feeling it. Don't know if everyone else is, but there have also been some issues here within this cha-ching, so I will talk about those as well. I did have someone cancel an item. They purchased it and then wanted to cancel right away. And then I had someone who wanted an offer on something, so sent the offer, they purchased and then never paid for it. So, you know, 2 little runarounds there. Then I had 2 items actually arrive to the buyer broken. So, the freaking postal system is just kind of dropping the ball here lately. You know, this type of stuff happens. Like, things do sometimes get broken in the mail, but, you know, when you've packed like tons of packages, especially some like crazy glass packages that, you know, had no problems getting to their respective buyers, like, it just makes me think there was something along the lines of a mail person or just the postal system itself, like, kicking boxes, dropping boxes, just, you know, treating boxes improperly. So the one I have opened a damaged item claim for, because it was a pretty expensive item. So we'll see if anything comes from that. Sometimes USPS will, you know, give the refunds without too much problem, and other times they'll send things like, we need more proof, or that kind of thing. So if that ever happens and if you have the item that was returned back to you, keep your box, keep all of your packaging, keep the item until that claim is over and done with, in case you have to take any more pictures of it or anything like that. Or if you know, don't have the person return it, and just make sure they send you pictures of the item and the damage on it and like the package and everything like that, just so you have that proof for the USPS when they come asking for it. Because sometimes, like I said, sometimes they're, you know, fairly good about refunding when, you know, packages get damaged, and other times, you know, they put up a fight or decide, you know, too bad, you know what I mean, we're not refunding you anything. So it's hit or miss with them, and I don't know if I'll, you know, get reimbursed for those packages or not, but I will let you guys know if I do or don't. I didn't open a claim on the other one yet. It just happened literally yesterday. I had gotten the message. So, but so there's that, 2 broken shipments. Then, okay, so that, I was talking about that Westmoreland swan on the nest. Okay, so the person who bought that lives in Salisbury, Maryland. So just in context, Salisbury, Maryland is about a 3-hour drive away from me. So it's not real far. So grand scheme, I would say 1 to 2 days it should have taken them to get their package after I shipped it, right? This freaking glass swan, after it left the hub here that, you know, my packages go to in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, after it left there, it went to Puerto Rico. That swan went to Puerto Rico after it left the hub here in Pennsylvania. Should have went to Maryland, but it went to Puerto Rico. So, okay, they purchased that on March 10th. So they're looking at the tracking, and they messaged like, my items in Puerto Rico, you know what I mean? They're just like making sure, like, you know, we didn't ship it to like the wrong address or something like that. So after it was there, it sat and sat and sat and sat and sat and sat and sat, and it just didn't move. It would not move. So I actually put in a request, again, USPS, to find the package, because at that point I was thinking this is missing, you know, days going by with no updates on tracking or anything like that. Like, this thing went to Puerto Rico and it's done, you know what I mean? Never seeing it again. Well, lo and behold, it started moving again through the tracking system. So the swan that should have gone to a house 3 hours from me, that was purchased on March 10th, was delivered to the buyer March 29th. So yeah, I definitely feel like USPS is dropping the ball big time here lately. You guys will have to let me know if you have been feeling any of this, whether that's USPS broken items, things being sent places they shouldn't be, or, you know, just slow sales in general. Let me know if it's just me or not, because I definitely feel like, well, you guys know when I do my chings, I typically talk about things at the end, and a lot of the time I really don't have much to talk about as far as eBay goes, because things just kind of sail along perfectly fine. But there are times when you have these hiccups, and it feels like when you have these hiccups, it's like hiccup, 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 like when's it gonna end kind of thing. Like when it rains, it pours. So hopefully, you know, things will just start to smooth sail here again soon. But like as of right now, it's just not smooth sailing. The waters have been a little rough lately. So that is pretty much everything that I have, I think, to talk about eBay. Eric and I, we did drop off some stuff at a local auction yesterday, so I will let you guys know how that stuff goes. You know, after the auction is over. I don't know when the auction is going to be quite yet. It was just like a whole lot of like random stuff. I think in the grand scheme, it's probably only going to fill maybe like 2 tables worth. So it's not like a ton of stuff. It was a lot of beauty stuff that I've been, you know, just ready to rid myself of. And then we did send in a Wii console with like a bunch of games and things like that. And just, you know, random, basically like random type of stuff. So yeah, I would like to keep doing that with some of the stuff that, you know, we have that I just don't really want to deal with anymore, because you guys know I'm trying to get rid of my death pile this year, and I do feel like between that and, you know, doing whatnot shows and things like that, like I'm making a bit of a dent in it. I am seeing some progress here, but obviously I'm still not where I want to be. But, you know, still we're in April now, aren't we? Oh, Michelle, yeah, we're in April now, so I need to get on the ball just a little bit more. But I have been, you know, kind of busy here lately, so just doing all kinds of stuff like that. But yeah, I do still want to continuously try to do whatnot shows, because that is helping me get rid of some of my inventory at a little bit quicker of a pace kind of thing. Not always, and sometimes it just doesn't really make a dent, especially if I'm doing like, I did a Bratz show, and you know, that stuff is just so small, so it really doesn't make any kind of dent. Eric's texting me pictures of the dog. She's downstairs. Hopefully you guys can see this. Amelia, here, let me get my face out of the frame. She took a toy. This is her, what I call canned berry. It's a toy she got from one of her bark boxes. She took it downstairs for Eric. Oh my god, she's so funny, because she always wants to play. You know how young dogs are. They just want to play all the time. The one day, she has, and I think I've talked about it before, she has these spider toys that she really likes. Like, they're pretty much just fabric, because she's torn them apart, and you know, the squeakers are out of them, and there's really not much to them other than the fabric, but they're like her favorite toys. And I call them her bookies, or bookie bides, or bookie spideys, that kind of thing. So the one day she had one in her mouth, and she likes to look, we have like some glass by the front door, and she always likes to look out there looking, you know, for Eric whenever he, you know, has left or something. And she had her spider in her mouth, and she dropped it there at the door. And I took a picture of it and sent it to Eric, saying that she left him a bookie trap, like a booby trap, a bookie trap. And he said that he about like teared up when I sent that picture to him when he was at the auction. Like, it pulled at his heartstrings. I was like, Oh my gosh, it was so stinking cute. She is a ball. Um, so yeah, I'm going, like, once I'm finished with this and I edit my video, she has a bed I put up on the computer desk, and she loves to just lay there and take a nap while I edit my video. So I'm gonna go grab her once I get this video edited. So yeah, I think I was talking about doing like whatnot shows. I have quite a few scheduled. I know I will never ever convince everyone to go to whatnot, and I understand, but you know, just letting you know I am on there. This is my my username on there is happened upon, which is the same name as our antique booth. And if I don't have a thumbnail, it's usually like this cat with the vase as my thumbnail. So I have quite a number of shows scheduled. I have one I'm actually going to do tomorrow. Just randomly, I decided to do one. Eric will be at the auction, and I decided I just want to do a whatnot because sometimes I have them on Sundays, but I didn't have one together to do today. So I'm going to do that one tomorrow. Then on Thursday, because today is Sunday and I will be posting this on Sunday. Thursday, I'm gonna go live in our antique booths and run some stuff or see if anyone wants anything out of our antique booths. So that'll be like Thursday at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, and then later on that evening at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, I'm doing a like vintage variety show. And then I also have a vintage toy show scheduled, as well as a Littlest Pet Shop show. And I am trying to get another jewelry show together as well, because I still have a lot of jewelry that I'm trying to go through and get through. Eric was helping me go through it the other day, and we actually found 2 gold rings mixed in with all of the other stuff that I had jewelry wise. So anything like gold we just hang on to, obviously. Eric does hang on to some silver because he sometimes buys silver at like the auction, because Eric, I know I've mentioned before, like one auction house needed help one day, and so he volunteered basically, but they pay him each time. But he's there anyway, you know what I mean, because he's bidding on stuff. So it's like he's pretty much getting paid to be there to bid. I mean, it's not like a lot of money or anything like that, but any of that extra money, he either, you know, will buy silver and then we just, you know, hang on to it, or, you know, it just gets put back into savings, because we do really want to move at some point. I've been wanting to move for quite a while. So that's like another goal of mine. But oh my gosh, house prices are just absolutely insane. So yeah, I don't know when we're ever gonna be able to move. I mean, we have money saved, obviously, but you know, it's one of those things where it's just, you know, a major goal of mine. Like the one really main thing I want in life is like my forever home kind of thing. So, you know, that's just a goal. And I was so upset, like well, you guys know about my one neighbor on one side. I live in a townhouse, so my neighbor on the one side, you know her, she's the one I cat sit for, who's a kitty cat. One kitty cat just passed away recently. And then on the other side of me was a retired school teacher with his wife. And they're, you know, they're all getting kind of up there in age. Well, here, come to find out, they were in the process of moving. So yeah, they moved. Just kind of like, wasn't it really expecting it. We don't always see that, you know, run into them outside. You know how it is with neighbors. You're not always seeing them. Or you're not all both out at the outside of the house at the same time. So yeah, that was upsetting. So they're moving. So I guess we'll have new neighbors. So hopefully they're as good as the neighbors that we have now. Because knock on wood, we've had really great neighbors that we were close to. So, you know, that it just upsets me. You know what I mean? Like when you lived beside someone for like so incredibly long, you know, it's upsetting when they decide to move. And I know, like, if and when Eric and I move, I know the neighbor lady is going to be upset that we move, but I'm going to let her know that whenever she needs a cat sitter, like I will still come and cat sit her cat, you know? So, I'll still be around, you know, we all still have like each other's phone numbers and things like that. So, I think I'm rambling now, so I'm gonna end this video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Let me know what you thought down in the comments. Like I said, let me know in the comments how, you know, eBay sales are going for you, or how USPS has been treating you lately. Is it just me, or are other people having issues as well? So let me know, and I will see you guys next time.